We did it. We freaking did it. I can't even begin to describe the feeling of being able to be in the playoffs for the first time in literally 8-9 years. It's actually insane. I shed a tear when that clock hit 000. I'm not gonna lie. Was it dramatic? Probably. But man, if only you guys knew the struggle it's been. Let's get into these games, man. Kicking off Saturday games, going with the Browns going into Baltimore. And Bailey Zappi actually got the start for this game. Didn't really do anything. He only had 170, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Lamar, pretty basic, average type win. 217, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Foreman and the rest of the running attack from the Browns only had 56 total yards. Derrick Henry, 138, 2 touchdowns. Basic Derrick Henry type game. Jerry Jeudy had 63. Jordan Atkins had the lone touchdown. And Rashawn Bateman and Mark Andrews both had a touchdown. This was a blowout. I mean, nothing really to say. A garbage time touchdown at the end. But, I mean, this was pretty much 21-3 pretty much for the entire game. So, Ravens solidified, I believe, the 3rd seed. No, or the 2nd seed. They secured the 2nd seed. Or the Bills, I'm not really sure. Bills or the Ravens, they're 2-3. And the Browns, obviously, getting closer to that number 1 pick. I believe they now have the 2nd or the 1st pick. I'm not really sure what pick they have, but we'll see if they keep it. But yeah, just a blowout, nothing crazy. Next, we had the Bengals going into Pittsburgh, and this was a game that was deciding if we were going to make the playoffs or not. If the Steelers would have won this game, they would have knocked out the Bengals from being in the playoffs. But of course, you know, the Bengals just survive, man. They just survive. And, I mean, pretty decent game. 277, a touchdown and a pick for Joe Burrow. 148, a touchdown and no picks for Russell Wilson. Khalil Herbert had 69 yards. And the entire Pittsburgh offense only had 74 rushing yards. Jamar Chase had a touchdown. Mike Gesicki had 68 yards. Pat Fairmount had a touchdown. And Mike Williams had a lone catch for 25 yards. This was a very slow-paced defensive game and big plays for the offense just when it did happen. But the Steelers just couldn't get enough done. They couldn't get plays going. Russell Wilson didn't have a great game. Obviously, the running attack was not there. But, yeah, the Bengals kept their playoff hopes alive, you know, for at least another day. And honestly, people were, you know, hating that the Bengals are not in the playoffs. But y'all seem to forget, if the Bengals get in the playoffs, you know, if they got in the playoffs, they didn't. If they did, y'all are going to trust Khalil Herbert as y'all's only running back? Nah. Y'all didn't have a running back. So, for everyone who's saying, like, oh, the Bengals should have won in, they're going to go in with no running back. Think about that. Next, we had the Panthers going into Atlanta for a absolute shootout. Bryce Young had 251, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Great game. Michael Penix had 312, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Pretty solid game for his, I believe, 2nd start. Miles Sanders, 66 yards and a touchdown. Bryce Young also had 2 rushing touchdowns. Easily his best game of the career so far. And Bijan also had a great game, 172 touchdowns. Michael Penix also had a rushing touchdown. Jalen Coker's 62 yards. Miles Sanders had a receiving touchdown, really big in the pass game, surprisingly. Drake London had a monster game, 187, 2 touchdowns. The Falcons were actually eliminated a little bit sooner because the Bucs ended up beating I forgot who they beat. The Saints. They beat the Saints. So when this game went into overtime, the Falcons already didn't have a chance. So maybe they let the Panthers win. Maybe they just couldn't get it done. But the Panthers played great. Panthers, the fact that you put up 44 points on the Falcons starting defense says one of two things. Panthers were on fire, or the Falcons defense is not as good as people thought it was. I thought the Falcons were going to have a great secondary. Their secondary is trash. But yeah, Bryce Young maybe revived his career. We'll see what happens next season. But luckily I have Michael Penix and Bryce Young, both on my fantasy team, leading into next season. So we'll see how both of these guys do. Next we had the Commanders going into Dallas for a really close game. This game came down to the last play of the game. Jay Daniels played just a little bit. He didn't really play that much. Trey Lance played pretty much the entire game. 244, no touchdowns, no picks. He missed a wide open touchdown that ultimately cost the Cowboys the game. Rico Dowdle, 72 and a touchdown. Mariota and Jay Daniels combined for 83 yards and a rushing touchdown. The rest of the running backs, all three. No, actually, I think Denami Brown is a receiver. So there was only 22 rushing yards for the Commanders this game, which is really pathetic. I don't see the Commanders being a really strong force in the playoffs. So I see them as a wild card bounce, in my personal opinion, but we will see. Terry McLaurin caught the game-winning touchdown at the very end, 62 yards and a touchdown. Zach Ertz also had another touchdown, like I said, having an amazing season for the second back half there. Jalen Tolbert, 98 yards, and Kevon Turpin, only 53. Jake Ferguson, only 4 targets, 2 catches. I'm not really sure why they're not utilizing Jake Ferguson. I feel like he needs to be traded to another team. I would love to have him on the Broncos. We need a receiving type tight end. They're just not utilizing Jake Ferguson correctly. Maybe it's just because, Cooper Rush, Trey Lance were throwing to him. So we'll see maybe when Dak comes back. We'll see what happens there. Next we have the Bears going into Green Bay. And this is a prime example, guys. If your team is in the playoffs, you do not need to play a majority of your starters unless it just absolutely 100% helps you in the seeding. Caleb Williams, 148, a touchdown, no picks. Malik Willis, 136, no touchdowns, no picks. Jordan Love actually started this game and ended up injuring his wrist. He only had 69 yards before he left the game. DeAndre Swift, 65 and a touchdown. Emmanuel Wilson, 73 and a touchdown, with Josh Jacobs also getting a touchdown for 44 yards. Not really sure why he was even playing this game. And then DJ Moore had 86 and a touchdown. Pretty much the only receiver that was doing anything on their team. And then Christian Watson, 1 target the entire game, and it is a non-contact injury. Tore his ACL, out for the playoffs, probably out for a third of the next season. We'll see how he recovers. But yeah, this is what happens when you start your players, man. Now the Packers, in my personal opinion, are a non-threat in the NFC. So that's already 2 teams out of the 7 that I don't think are going to go deep. And that is the Commanders and the Packers. I don't personally see the Buccaneers going deep. So that's 3 out of the 4 teams. I feel like outside of the Vikings, Eagles, Lions, I don't even honestly see the Rams going that far. Honestly, 4 of these teams are going to get bounced, in my personal opinion. Next, we have the Texans going into Tennessee. Titans wearing their throwback Houston Oilers uniforms and then losing to the Texans is pretty hilarious. Davis Mills, 128, no touchdowns, no picks. Will Levis, 1 touchdown, no picks, 175. Dameon Pierce had a game, 176 and a touchdown. Tony Pollard, 62 yards. What's his name? Tajay Spears was not active for this week. Robert Woods, only 39 yards. Nico Collins, 38 and a touchdown. Calvin Ridley, 76. And Tay Martin had a 1-catch, 49-yard touchdown. This was a game that was a little closer than I was expecting. The fact that the Texans weren't really going to keep that many starters in kind of worried me in the picks department. But the Texans, they ended up winning this game and, had lots of backups in, and the Titans still just couldn't get it done. But Titans lose at home. I believe they have the top 3 pick. If I'm not mistaken, I gotta check. But yeah, it's just it's a good win for the Texans, obviously. But the Titans needed to lose this game. Next, we have the Jaguars going into the Indianapolis to face the Colts. Matt Jones, 225, a touchdown and a pick. Joe Flacco had 264, touchdown, no pick. Tank Bigsby, 39 yards and a touchdown. 113 total rushing yards for the Jaguars. Jonathan Taylor, once again, the only running back getting carries. 34 carries for 177 and a touchdown. He has to lead the league in carries. There's no freaking way. That's insane. Brian Thomas Jr., 103, and Parker Washington had 1 touchdown. Josh Downs, 94 yards. Alec Pierce had a long 40-yard touchdown, 57 total, 72 yards for Michael Pittman as well. This was just a great game all around for the AFC South. It's a garbage time game, but all the starters were in. They were not going to go out on a low note. Jaguars, obviously, them losing this game helps them, but this was a game. Next, we have the Bills going into New England. A majority of the Bills' backups was not playing this game, and the Patriots were starting Joe Milton for this game as well. I don't know if Joe Milton got the start, but either way, he played a majority of the game. But yeah, he had a great game, 241, a touchdown. Antonio Gibson and the rest of the Patriots offense, rushing attack didn't really do much, only 77 total yards. Ray Davis had 64, James Cook had 28 and a touchdown before he exited the game. And Curtis Samuel, 52 yards. Keon Coleman had 31, Keyshawn Booty, 117 and a touchdown. But outside of those receivers, man, there wasn't really anyone helping out their quarterbacks. But the defense could not stop either one of these offenses up until when it really needed to happen. And the Patriots, they just kept the chains moving and slowly and methodically won this game. But big division win for the Patriots, but obviously hurts their draft stock, so we'll see officially where they land. I believe it's still a top maybe 6 pick, but we just got to see. Next, we have the Giants going into Philadelphia, and honestly, I thought the Giants were going to absolutely destroy the Eagles for this game because of the amount of people the Eagles were sitting. Drew Lock, 138, touchdown and a pick. Tanner McKee, 269, 2 touchdowns. Tyron Tracy, 59. Will Shipley, 32 total yards. 51 total rushing yards for the Eagles, and 100 for the Commanders. Malik Neighbors, 64 and a touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson had 10 catches for only 43 yards. Jahan Dotson, 94. Anais Smith, 1 touchdown, and E.J. Jenkins, 1 touchdown. Never heard of either of those guys. This was honestly a back and forth type of game, up until this, well, not for the first half, but the second half came alive, and ultimately the Giants, them not really doing anything in the first half really altered this game. But yeah, this is a game where it really looked like the Giants just really wanted to lose this game, because there's no excuse on losing to the Eagles in this particular game. But either way, good win for the Eagles. Next we have the Saints going into Tampa Bay. Spencer Rattler, not a great game, 240 and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield, 221, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. Clyde Edwards-Helaire also had an additional start with 26 total yards. Bucky Irving, 89 and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield had 68 total rushing yards as well. Mike Evans had 89 to keep his 1,000-yard season streak going. Jalen McMillan, 74 yards and a touchdown. And Payne Durham had a touchdown as well. Juwan Johnson, 80 yards. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had 33. And Dante Pettis had the lone touchdown pass. This was a game where the Buccaneers looked like they were going to choke this game. 16-6 going into the first half. Made big second half adjustments and just came out with the win. So a good comeback win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And the Saints, obviously tough loss, but helps them in the draft. So next we had the Chargers going into Las Vegas. Justin Herbert, 346, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Aiden O'Connell had 214, 2 touchdowns and a pick. J.K. Dobbins, 63 yards. And Alexander Madison only had 20. Quentin Johnson, 186. Will Disley had 42 and a touchdown. And DJ Chark had a 6-yard touchdown catch. Jacoby Myers had 123 and a touchdown. Brock Bowers had 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown as well. This was a game that the Chargers just pretty much dominated, always in control, and the Raiders defense just really couldn't, compete with this Chargers offensive attack. But obviously a loss helps the Raiders in this situation. But yeah, big division win for the Chargers, and another L for the Raiders. Next we have the Seahawks going into LA to face the Chargers, and Geno Smith had a pretty great game, 223, 4 touchdowns. Jimmy Garoppolo got the start over Matthew Stafford for this game, 334, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Zach Charbonnet, 59 yards. Kenny McClatosh, I don't even know how you say his name, 49 yards. Ronnie Rivers, Jordan Winnington, combined for 60 yards. Never heard of either of those guys. Noah Fant had an insane end of the game type touchdown, 63 yards and 1 touchdown. DK Metcalf, 53 and a touchdown. AJ Barner, never heard of him, 34 and a touchdown. Jordan Winnington also had 86 receiving yards. DeMarcus Robinson, 72. And Tyler Higbee had a touchdown, with Tyler Johnson having the other touchdown. This game came down at the very end, with the Seahawks ended up winning this game on the last drive, pretty much. And it was just the Rams, backups against the Seahawks starters. But the backups for the Rams did pretty decent, held their own. But the starters for the Seahawks just did a little bit better. Next we had the Dolphins going into New York to play the Jets. Tyler Huntley, 227, a touchdown, 2 picks. Not a great game. Aaron Rodgers had a great game with 274, 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. He only needed 1 touchdown to get to 500 total career touchdowns. Devon Achane had 121 and a touchdown. Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis, and Breland Allen all combined for like 104 total yards for this game. Actually, hold on, wait a second. About 113 total between all three of them running backs. 2 are rookies. Isaiah Davis and Breland Allen, I think, are really great running backs. And I feel like the Jets can, obviously release Aaron Rodgers, trade Breece Hall, and, have some fun in the draft. Because I would be perfectly okay with Isaiah Davis and Breland Allen being in my 1-2 punch combo if I'm the Jets. That's just me. Jonnu Smith, 56 and a touchdown. Malik Washington only had 48. Jalen Waddle also had 44. Devontae Adams, 88 and a touchdown. Allen Lazard, 71 and a touchdown. Tyler Conklin, Breece Hall both had catching touchdowns. This was a dominant performance by the Jets to end the season on a win. We will see what both of these teams are going to do in the offseason. Next, we had the 49ers going into Arizona. And this game was actually a lot closer than... this was a blowout. But this game was really close up until the fourth quarter. This game was very close. At the end of the third quarter, it was 24 to 26. And then all of a sudden, the Cardinals just kick it on in the fourth quarter. Scored 3 touchdowns, put this game away. Big win for the Cardinals. It's a meaningless game, but a division rival at home. Last game of the season. 49ers just got destroyed this game. Joshua Dobbs, 326 at 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kyler Murray had 4 touchdowns, no picks. Tony Jones and Michael Carter had 98 yards with 2 touchdowns combined. Patrick Taylor, 109. And Joshua Dobbs had a rushing touchdown as well. Ricky Purcell, 69 and a touchdown. Kyle Juszczyk had 49 yards on 2 catches with 1 touchdown. Trey McBride had a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a touchdown. Greg Dortch had a touchdown. All 3 of them combined, 173 total. 175 total yards. So this was just a big division win. Great performance by the Cardinals. Next we had, I believe, in my opinion, upset of the week. Not because it was just an upset, but, it wasn't an upset. Neither team winning would be an upset. This was upset of the week in terms of everyone putting this game as game of the week. And this was probably one of the worst games of the week. Sam Darnold and the offensive play calling was so bad this game. I can't even describe it. So many goal line opportunities and kicking no field goals, getting no points, obviously not getting touchdowns. Just kept giving the Lions the ball, and ultimately the Lions just put up points. Sam Darnold, 166. Jared Goff, 231, a touchdown, 2 picks. Jahmyr Gibbs, 139, 3 touchdowns. Cam Akers, 65. Aaron Jones had 45 as well. Justin Jefferson, 54. Jalen Naylor, 53, and Aaron Jones had 30. Amon St. Brown had 77. Laporta had 63. Jameson Williams, 34. And Jahmyr Gibbs also had the lone receiving touchdown. This game was just a dominant performance by the Lions. Shout out to the Lions defense. They are the reason why they won this game. But, Lions got the 1 seed. Vikings drop all the way down to the 5th seed. Next, we had the Chiefs going into Denver. Last game of the season, Denver Broncos have to win this game to make the playoffs, and they did just that. Carson Wentz did nothing this game. 10 completions, 98 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, sacked 4 times. Bo Nix, 321, 26 for 29, 4 touchdowns, no picks. An amazing game, took no sacks. 27 total rushing yards for the Chiefs. Bo Nix had 47 yards rushing. Jaleel McLaughlin, 39. Andre Gastame had 34 and a touchdown. Javonte had 28. And the receivers, Nico Romango, 48 yards on 2 catches. Peyton Hendershot, catches for 25. P. Ryan had 13. Watson 5. Smith-Schuster 4. Carson Steele had 2. Noah Gray had 1. Cortland Sutton, on the other hand, 98 yards and a touchdown. Marvin Mims Jr., 51 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devon Bailey had a lucky catch. Ricochet with 50 yards total. Javonte Williams had a great game. Had 50 receiving yards. We were just spreading the rock. Defense obviously came up really clutch for us as well. This was just a very dominant performance. And I want to point a couple things out. Obviously, the Chiefs did not have their starters in. But the fact that their backups could not even get into field goal range more than once. They got into field goal range and they missed the field goal. It should have been 38-3. The Chiefs' defense backups could not stop any starters on our offense. And their offensive players could not do anything against our starting defense. So that means two things. Our team is secretly really like that when we're clicking. 2, the Chiefs don't have any backups. Any of their starters get hurt, they are the weak link. So watch out for that if any of their players do get hurt in these next couple games, because they don't have the roster for that. They don't have a depth chart. They have good starters, but they don't have a depth chart. So you can, make up the excuse like, oh, the Chiefs didn't have their starters in, blah, blah, blah. They don't have chemistry, blah, blah, blah. Make it all the excuses you want. The second team defense, second team offense plays, they practice with each other. They play against each other. They have chemistry. Don't come at me with they don't have chemistry. The Chiefs got destroyed. And I personally do believe if the starters did start, we would have still won this game. Obviously, we wouldn't have blown them out 38-0, but we would have won this game. I do 100% believe that. We were on something this game. We were aggressive. We were executing. It was just a great game. And the joy, man. The long wait to finally get in the playoffs. What else can you ask for? A winning record this season would have been enough. But for us to make the playoffs, you can't make this up, man. It's an insane journey. But we're there. Once you're in, you have a chance. And right now, we're in. Next we have wild card picks. Starting off on Saturday at 3:30, we have the Chargers heading into Houston. Honestly, man, I have the Chargers winning this game. I do want the Texans to win, but man, it's tough. It's tough for me to see the Texans beating the Chargers. They have home field advantage, so that's always great, but I don't know, man. The Chargers have been kind of going crazy lately, so unfortunately I have to go with the Chargers. Pittsburgh going into Baltimore. I don't see the upset happening. The Ravens are on a roll. I have the Ravens winning this game. On Sunday here, we have Green Bay in Philadelphia at 3:30. I have the Eagles winning that by a landslide. 7 o'clock game, Sunday night, we have the Commanders going into Tampa Bay. This is going to be a really good game, and I personally think that the Commanders are going to win this game, but best believe I am going to be rooting for the Buccaneers. On Monday night, we have the Vikings going into LA to face the Rams. I have the Vikings winning this game, even though it is technically an away game. I just feel like they have to get revenge on the Lions, and in order to do that, you have to go through the Rams. I just feel like the Rams aren't consistent enough. They're capable of winning this game. I just don't see them being consistent enough to win this game. So we will definitely see how all that plays out. But I do have the Vikings winning that. And on Sunday, 12 o'clock, we got the Broncos going into Buffalo. As much as I love my Broncos, man, Josh Allen is going crazy this year. Got to go with the Bills, but man, am I praying for an upset. We play the Steelers or the Ravens if we magically beat the Bills, so we will definitely see how that plays out. But as right now, I have the Chargers, Ravens, Bills, Eagles, Commanders, and Vikings moving on to the next round. But we will see how everything plays out. I'm just happy we made it. Either way, we'll see you on my next video. Go Broncos.